Hello guys and gals, Buffalo here. It's a beautiful day to be alive here in Kentucky. Now I consider the High Point 995 and 9mm little carbine, I consider it about a 75-yard gun for all useful purposes. So I've zeroed this one at 25 yards. I use target ammo, 115 grain generally. I get about 1,200 feet per second out of that. And considering that my sights on this little gun are about 2¼ inches above the bore line, the center of the bore line, with a 25-yard zero, which is what I've got this zeroed, I'm about a ½ inch high at 50, and I'm about 1 inch low at 75. So what that does for me, allow me to demonstrate, out here at 80 yards from the backstop, I can shoot at 10 yards, 20, 30, 40, 50, and all the way out to 80. Without having to use any holdover whatsoever. So, for me using this as a 75-yard gun, a 25-yard zero just makes sense. So it's been over 2 years since I did that first video presentation on the 995 TS from High Point. Now a few things have changed since then. That was back in November of 2014, I believe. And here it is April 2017, so I thought it was time to give a little update video on this gun. The biggest thing that's changed is this gun is now mine. If you watched that first video, you know that this belonged to my good friend Wild Bill 6233. Now when he decided to sell this gun, he knew how much I liked it, so he messaged me and priced it right, and as they say, the rest is history. This is now my little carbine. The second thing that's changed is I'm no longer running the red dot. I found these iron sights to be really good. They give a good clear sight picture. They set up high enough that I don't find myself rooting my cheek around on the stock to hunt for them. Just overall, pretty good quality sights. The rear is fully adjustable, of course. It's marked really good for your adjustments, make your adjustments easier if you want to return to zero or whatever. Front sight's really sturdy, nice size. Just overall, decent sights for a gun, especially in this price range. And the third thing that's changed since I came out with that first video was that these Red Ball Sports 20-round magazines have hit the market. Really good magazines. One of my biggest complaints was the anemic capacity of a gun this size chambered in 9mm. You know, 10 rounds is not that much for a gun of this size. 10 rounds is great if you're carrying a little small compact pistol. Not so good in a rifle. So that was my biggest complaint. Now you have to remember, this gun was designed during the infamous Clinton assault weapons ban. So at that time it made sense to use a single stack magazine because all guns produced for civilian use were limited to 10 rounds. So it just didn't make sense for them to use a double stack magazine. I wish somebody would have had the foresight to realize that one day that ban may be lifted. It was scheduled to last 10 years, which it did. It was lifted in 2004. If they would have went with a double stack magazine, these things would sell like hotcakes, especially, you know, if they'd utilized Glock magazines. Well, they wouldn't be able to make these things fast enough. But I digress. The 20-round magazine from Red Ball is very reliable. The sample I have has never given me a malfunction whatsoever. Shot it quite a bit. Don't know the exact round count. I'm not good at counting rounds. I just enjoy shooting. I don't keep records on how many rounds I shoot most of the time unless I'm doing a specific test on a specific gun for some reason. But I've shot enough through it to know that it's going to be reliable. It has been for me. Of course, the 10-round factory magazines are always reliable. Never had any trouble with it. Now the Red Ball magazine does stick out about 5 inches out of the grip, but that's just a product of that single stack magazine design. There's not really a whole lot that can be done about that with the gun designed around a single stack magazine. It does look a bit unwieldy, but to be honest, I don't really notice it's there, and for my use, which is mostly plinking, maybe some predator control or you know, varmint control, it's not really a hindrance. So pretty nice to have, especially out on the range. All right, so let's talk about the ergonomics of this little carbine just a little bit. I talked about this some in that first video. We'll say the trigger, just as I said in that first video, not a huge fan of the trigger. It's mushy, spongy like, don't have a discernible reset, neither audible or tactile. You just have to completely release the trigger and pull again. You're not going to get that pushback reset like on a lot of nicer rifles or pistols. But again, most people looking at a budget rifle like this are not going to be concerned with that. They just want a trigger that they can pull and the rifle's going to go bang, which this one certainly does. This little carbine comes to my shoulder good. The grip feels my hand great. Just feels really natural to shoot. When I bring the gun to my shoulder, I'm looking right down the sights naturally without having to fight that and hunt for them. Of course, your safety is a little bit awkward to operate. You have to relinquish your grip to get to it. But mag release is located really good. Shoots the mags right out. Really like that about the magazine release. It does have Weaver style rails underneath the barrel and on top under the handguard. These are not 1913 Picatinny rails. I've heard a lot of reviewers refer to them as Picatinny rails. They don't meet those standards. They are Weaver rails. Has a spring-loaded butt plate back here. It's a 9mm. You wouldn't think you'd need any sort of special recoil pad or anything, but when I shoot this rifle, I can feel that spring moving. I can feel that butt plate moving, so it is performing a function here. You know, I don't know how much it actually helps, but something they decided the gun needed, I guess. Gun has been extremely reliable. I've got to anymore. I almost only shoot brass case ammo. I've been shooting up my aluminum and steel case in the last few videos with other guns that I've used, but I'm replacing all of that with brass case. I'm almost actually exclusively gone to Blazer brass for my practice ammo just because it's cheap and it seems to be good ammo. But this thing has ran anything I've put in it, it's run with it. Unlike my MechTech CCU here, which is another 9mm carbine. This is just what it is a conversion unit. I've got videos on this thing out there, but it's really picky about what it eats. It runs 100% with the Blazer brass, just like my others do. But if you throw a little bit of aluminum case or steel case at this thing, it's just not going to run, whereas the High Point will. Also, while I've got this here, the High Point comes in at 6.5 pounds, and you see a lot of reviews where people fuss about how heavy this one is. Well, this one comes in at 7 pounds, just like it is, empty. So 6.5 pounds is not that heavy for a little rifle like this. Of course, the price is right. You know, most places you can find these for under 300 bucks, sometimes way under 300 bucks. I bought this one used, as I mentioned, gave way under 300 bucks for it. And for the price, you know, a lot of 9mm carbines are priced $600-700 bucks, so this one will get you out on the range without breaking the bank. Now, what kind of video would this be if I didn't run one of these 20-round magazines through and show you guys how they worked? So here we are at about 30 yards. Let's do a quick mag dump here. So there you go. Now, I understand pistol caliber carbines aren't for everyone, but I like them. And all things considered, I think the High Point 995 TS can be a good choice, whether you're on a budget or not.